Welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping straight into a fascinating journey through some of the absolute oldest and most influential texts in human history. We're going to unpack the early chapters of Genesis, weave in some core insights from Rick Warren's The Purpose-Driven Life, and see how these sources lay out a literal divine blueprint for our purpose, the structure of creation, and the very foundation of the human family. So, let's get right into it.
We're hitting the ground running today with the ultimate existential hook. Why am I here? It is the exact question that has kept philosophers and scientists up at night for thousands of years. And according to our sources, if you genuinely want to know why you were placed on this planet, you can't just guess. And actually, you can't just look inward either.
Okay, let's dive into this. To really understand our foundation, our source text points us to this incredibly vivid imagery from the book of Jeremiah. Finding your true purpose is like a tree planted by the water. It sends its roots down super deep, so when the scorching heat comes, it doesn't panic. Its leaves stay green, and it never stops bearing fruit, even in the middle of a drought. It's a perfect picture of resilience. You're not just getting tossed around by whatever the latest trend is, you're anchored to something way bigger than yourself.
That brings us to Section 1, Finding Life's Purpose.
So, how do we actually find that deep-rooted purpose? Well, culture constantly tells us that the answer is found deep inside ourselves, but our sources totally dismantle that myth. It's a stark contrast. The traditional self-help philosophy tells you to focus on you, invent your destiny, figure out your own happiness. But the purpose-driven philosophy? It argues that, honestly, it's not about you. Think of it like this. If I hand you a super complex, brand new invention you've never seen before, you're not going to figure out what it does just by staring at it, right? It can't speak for itself. You have to ask the inventor or, read the manual. In the exact same way, humanity can't discover its ultimate purpose without looking outward to its creator.
Moving right along to Section 2, The Pinnacle of Creation.
To really grasp our design, we have to look at the original owner's manual, the Genesis creation account. And this brilliantly illustrates that the Genesis blueprint isn't just some random list of magical events. It is a highly structured, poetic, and incredibly purposeful ordering of the universe. Just look at the theological balance here. It's amazing. The first 3 days are entirely about creating space, separating light from dark, sky from water, land from sea. Then, the next 3 days are all about populating those exact spaces. Day 4 fills day 1 with the sun, moon, and stars. Day 5 fills day 2 with birds and fish. And day 6 fills day 3 with land animals and humans. It's like building a magnificent house before moving the furniture in.
And that brings us to the sixth day, the absolute pinnacle of this whole structure. The text famously says, "Let us make human beings in our image." Now, back in the ancient Near East, kings used to set up statues, literally images of themselves all over their empires to project their authority. But our sources point out that Genesis takes that idea and completely democratizes it. It's saying that every single human being, male and female, is a living, breathing statue of the Creator. We're uniquely made to represent that divine authority and goodness right here on Earth.
Which leads us to Section 3, the foundation of family.
Now we zoom in. We go from the massive cosmic scale of the universe down to the intimate setting of a garden. This is where the divine blueprint lays down the deep roots of the human family. And there's this incredible linguistic Easter egg hidden in the original Hebrew text. The word for humanity is Adam, and the word for earth or soil is Adama. So humanity is literally earthling. We are organically, intimately tied to the ground we walk on. We're formed from its dust, animated by divine breath. We aren't just aliens dropped onto a random rock. We're made of the very earth we're supposed to care for.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it reveals the perfect equality of the first couple. The Hebrew word for man is ish, and for woman, it's isha. That phonetic pairing isn't an accident. It shows a perfectly complementary nature. When the man first sees the woman, he basically sings the first love poem in history, calling her bone of my bone. They are a flawless match, not a boss and an employee, but a harmonious, unified whole designed for deep partnership.
This original design culminates in just absolute harmony. The text says they were naked and without shame. The Hebrew word there is aruming. It implies a state of total innocence, absolute vulnerability with zero fear of being exploited. They had this unhindered, beautiful relationship with their Creator, with nature, with themselves, and with each other. There was literally nothing to hide.
But then we arrive at Section 4, tragedy and brokenness.
Because, well, we look around the world today and we know that perfect harmony obviously didn't last. That beautiful blueprint was shattered by doubt and pride.
Remember that Hebrew word aruming for innocent nakedness? The text introduces a serpent and describes it using a word that sounds almost identical, arum, meaning cunning or crafty. It's brilliant storytelling. The innocent vulnerability meets crafty deception. And notice, the serpent doesn't use brute force. It just twists the truth. It plants a tiny seed of doubt, whispering that maybe the Creator is holding out on them, and maybe they should just decide what's good and evil for themselves.
And, tragically, they buy it. Instantly, the innocence is gone. It's replaced by shame, fear, and hiding. So the crucial point is how fast their perfect unity just falls apart. Instead of bone of my bone, we get the world's very first blame game. The man points his finger at the woman and kind of throws the Creator under the bus too, saying, "The woman you put here, she gave me the fruit." Then the woman points her finger at the serpent. Personal responsibility completely vanishes, and the relationship is totally fractured.
Which brings us to our final section, consequences and hope.
You see, this ancient narrative isn't just some dusty myth. Our sources highlight that it's a direct explanation for the very real hardships we face today. The blueprint broke and life got hard. The text rapidly lists the consequences: pain in childbirth, the reality of relational strife and domination replacing that equal partnership, having to sweat and do hard labor just to survive, in an environment that now produces thorns and thistles. It's the ancient explanation for why work, family, and just surviving in this world can feel so incredibly exhausting.
And to bring this right into the 21st century, our sources include this super powerful insight from Pope Francis. He draws a straight line from this ancient brokenness to today's headlines. He points out that when we break our relationship with the Creator, it inevitably leads to exploiting nature, ecological decay, and massive social inequality. It's an ancient tragedy with very real modern echoes.
But wait, the story absolutely does not end in despair. Right in the middle of handing down these tough consequences, the Creator drops a glimmer of hope. It's what theologians call the proto-gospel, the very first promise of redemption. It says the seed of the woman will eventually crush the serpent's head. It is a promise that humanity hasn't been abandoned. A master plan is officially set in motion to restore that original, beautiful blueprint.
Wow, we have covered so much ground today, from the vast cosmic ordering of the universe right down to the nitty-gritties of human relationships, our brokenness, and our ultimate hope. So I want to leave you with this one thought, knowing that we are fundamentally built for deep connection and purpose, yet we're navigating a profoundly broken world. How will you align your daily family life, your work, and your relationships with the Creator's original blueprint today? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep seeking those deep roots.